Today's episode, we will chat about jokes lah.
Jokes.
You're listening to...
Jom Sembang Malaysia.
So, cerita whose newsfeed doesn't reflect our newsfeed. Did you know the latest thing that virals around has to do with Jocelyn Chia?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that one my feed also got.
Wah, sampai juga lah.
Sampai.
So initially
Cukup
when I
viral.
saw it, I was a bit like, it's one of those like, I don't know this name, don't know what's happening. So
Yeah.
I just scroll. And then scroll. After a few days, still there. Then the third day got people response to it. Then I'm like, wow, quite big thing lah. So who is this Jocelyn Chia?
I have no idea. I just know that kena lah this scandal lah konon.
So apparently she's a Singapore comedian.
Okay, but then
like-
she's not a Singaporean citizen is what I heard.
She stays somewhere in the US or something. Like,
Okay.
she's just based somewhere else.
Right?
Yeah. So she was sharing some jokes about, jokes lah, comedian
Yeah,
stand-up
yeah,
jokes.
yeah.
Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's really the truth, but in a
Yes.
funny mode and
Yes.
stuff like that. But this so-called not veteran comedian, not exactly newbie, decided to joke about MH370.
Yes, I heard about that.
So
Not very good taste.
I thought like,
Bad taste actually.
yeah. So there's a lot of comments about it. Some people say, you're Asian, you're our next door, ni, Malaysia Singaporean. So you should know that some topics are too sensitive and stuff like that. What are your opinions about jokes? Like in what, do we have a grey line where things that we cannot joke about or how?
Okay, so too sensitive, I think is not, I wouldn't say it's too sensitive because we talk about a lot of things that are sensitive and that's why you use comedy to bring it across.
True.
But this is a tragedy, right? So it's a different level thing lah. It's like, do you joke about 9/11? I don't think
I've
so.
heard
Did we joke
anyone
about the
it.
Highland Towers last time? I don't think
I don't
so,
think
you
so
know?
too.
So why choose this one? Okay lah, you want to joke about the Bomo? Okay lah, yang Bomo tu.
Correct.
Can. But about
The Bomo
but
with the, was it?
coconuts?
Yeah. Just
So,
in case you all don't know. I mean, long time ago. Don't know.
Yeah,
whatever.
go Google.
Yeah. So there's this Bomo who's like hold the two coconuts and then he said he can locate the aeroplane.
Yes.
I think that putting in as part of a comedy act is quite okay. lah.
Yeah, of course. But it's not about, but I don't actually know what she said. I know that, she took a hit at this. I don't really know what she said. And I really also don't want to go and look it up because I don't think it deserves my time or the airtime. So
Yeah, deserve the airtime. So the fact that she did a big boo-boo and the whole world knows about it and the boo-boo become more listened to than any other boo-boo. So it's also what I think really reflects on how we are curious but we shouldn't give airtime to things that are not good.
I suppose, I don't know. It's like, okay, we have, I was just thinking last night, I've got 24 hours in a day.
Yes, we all do.
If we sleep 7.5 hours, now I'm sleeping more like 6 hours. And then, count your food and everything. You're left with a very limited number of hours lah. So you want to
Correct.
use that as smartly as possible lah. And I don't know, for me, going to look that up wasn't. But I do wonder lah. So if somebody actually tells me what was actually said, yeah, okay. But I'm not going to go and hunt it up lah.
Okay. So a lot of our comedians are asked to give a response to her joke or her ethics in making the joke.
Wait, Chop. Respond like, berbalas pantun ke? Or respond as in, not in comedy, but just respond to what she did lah?
Should you have done it? Or should she have done it?
Okay.
Or what are the ethics?
Okay, all right.
And all that. So I think a lot of the comedian, the more established one, like Harif Iskandar and so, they are actually so-called forced into giving a response because everybody say, hey, what do you think?
Okay.
It reaches a point where they get fed up. They say, here's a video of what I think. And a lot of them agree that they don't touch on something that is too tragedy fresh. Even if it's not fresh, it's a tragedy lah.
Yeah, lives were
not
lost.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's a too sad thing to make fun of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but-
think it's disrespectful lah.
Correct.
Because okay, maybe she doesn't know anybody who
Kena.
actually
Was a victim.
passed away on that flight. I actually know people who did. Or their family members, So maybe that makes it more personal. And if you don't know somebody, right, it feels like, it's very far away lah. It's not personal lah. Then you don't realize that, hey, there was pain involved. There was
Correct.
Imagine somebody going missing until now you cannot locate. You don't know where the remains are. It's not something to be trifled lah.
I also like to take this situation or this incident to really reflect on not just comedian, like any kind of occupation. Sometimes when we are too fast to make fun of something, without thinking, because we are not in their shoes or we're not even close to neighbor, to really sit down and ask yourself like, hey, until what extent do we do that? Especially when it comes to content creators like writers, songwriters and stuff. What kind of things that you sing about or you talk about or you perform about, how much of it do we put a lot of thoughts into? Should I do this or why I'm doing this? Is quite important.
Yeah.
So yeah lah. Back from the commercial after this. Let's see what kind of jokes that Juwita has received or I've received or we have given to others that have backfired on us.
Oh no. This episode is brought to you by 2105 Productions. Now, if you're looking for a place to do podcasts like us, call JD, look them up on, they're everywhere. Twitter, Facebook,
Yeah, but you must say
Instagram.
2-1 and then that thing, that
Colon.
dot, that 2.:05. 21:05. That's what you should be searching for.
Wait, is it colon or semicolon? Anyway, it's the 2 dots lah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're looking to record a song, a demo, yeah, you can do it here too.
Okay, back from the break. So, Juwita, what was the most funniest joke you have heard?
You know I'm not into comedy, right?
I don't know, you seem to be more funny than Miki. I'm like,
But I'm funny without attempting to be funny. Oh, yo,
that's true, that's
perasan.
true. She's like, sometimes she tells some lame jokes that I need to take like 3 seconds later to process and go like, oh.
So yeah, I don't remember jokes. I don't, yeah. Those are not things that stick in my, it doesn't get saved in my memory.
Okay. So I
Sorry.
have a disclaimer. I just don't like jokes. I don't like people asking me readers. I don't like knock jokes. I just don't get them in general.
Okay.
So when people ask me, I feel a bit like, go away, like, like stay away. Like, why am I in this conversation? I feel like if I could shut the door, I would shut the door.
Wait lah, I like riddles, I like jokes. It's just that if you ask me now what was the funniest, I'm like, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so there's this thing that I was thinking about when this Jocelyn Chia thing blow up, and then all these jokes and stuff like that. So I realized that sometimes we tell a joke, or rather we say something and then we say joking lah. Okay,
ini
so
banyak kena.
for me, I just want to explore or discuss about this kind of situation, what you feel or what happened if someone says something like that, but you actually terasa or what are the most memorable
Okay.
situation that you have?
All right. So when I was a teenager, not too long ago, I remember, we were in youth group and stuff like that. So that would have been from 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Those 2 years, mid-teenage years. Somehow, right, our whole culture of friends, like, we would do maths exercise together, and then after that
Okay.
we go makan. Okay,
And then they
so
went back.
we're very close lah in that sense. We'll see each other every week, twice a week, 3 times a week, kind of
Okay.
thing. But the entire conversation is always like kenakan orang.
Oh, you got a lot of energy.
We would, young at the time.
Come, give me an example.
We would, I cannot remember what kind of example now, but it's almost like you would say like, you very smart lah. Like just everything that we are talking to each other was very kind of sindir, kind of,
So there is
kenakan
an
that kind of-
underlying of menyindir.
yeah. And we thought it was funny. We thought it was funny. It was a way of having fun and just talking to one another like that until our entire conversation was like that. And I never felt terasa. But there was one day, I remember somebody was saying something about, hey, actually the words you all speak to one another, right, is very weighty. You need to be careful of what you are saying, you know,
Okay.
and don't simply say these kind of things lah. And somehow, right, I think it sunk into all of us. And it just kind of like changed.
It's
After
either
that.
sunk in or it's the fact that each of you have actually rasa terkena before.
It could be, but really, it wasn't because of spite. You know how like sometimes, right, you purposely say something because you
Just
want the
because,
person to hear.
correct.
You purposely want them to hear that because there's been something that's bugging you about the way they
Okay.
they live their lives or the way they act around you lah. Okay, that one not. That one was just it's just like yeah, you very tall lah. Like like stuff like it's
Quite
shouldn't.
innocent, like you very tall lah, but at the same time, yeah lah, you very tall lah.
Yeah, or you're very skinny lah. But your growing up days, right? Skinny, okay, for bigger size people, skinny is a nice
Something,
thing.
correct.
But for skinny people, they hate being told that they're skinny because for them it's like being a fat person being told that they're fat.
Yeah.
Right? Things like that lah. So at that moment, it was amazing, I was like, suddenly you can see the conversation change. And we were talking about nicer stuff. We were talking about more. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes I think it just takes two people to shift gear, And then, yeah, but that was that one lah. I remember so clearly, like, wow, suddenly either we grew up or we matured or something clicked lah in our brain and it shifted lah. So it's possible, to shift.
Yeah. Now that you said it, that means there's an intention. I think the point is a lot of people don't mention that it hurts or don't mention of the weight of it.
Yeah.
And then they just think, since the fellow joking, then okay lah, I just don't like this person, then I don't hang around so much, then I don't hear this bunch of jokes and move on.
Correct. But we liked each other. So.
Yeah. But the fact that you need to point it out itself changes the entire ballgame lah.
But there are people who you pointed out, like we all were teenagers, so it sunk in. There are people nowadays you point it out, but they're like, oh, but we just talk like that lah.
Correct.
So actually
Why
it
you so
doesn't help
serious?
at all. So I've had one. So if you're listening into this, you're the person who told me, yeah. She was saying something like, we always talk very loud lah, we shout at one another lah, but actually we're not fighting.
Okay.
But in that exchange of raising your voice and talking loudly, or jokingly saying things that are not very nice, actually it is quite unpleasant. It makes it an unpleasant experience to work with these type of people. But then they will say, no lah, but we're still friends wa. We're okay wa. They want to just laugh. It's just the way we talk loud, very loud only.
I also think that it has to do a little bit with Chinese culture.
Oh.
A lot of a Chinese family, they actually talk loud. So for me, right, talking loud and talking in annoyingly loud is totally different. Like if they are volume loud, okay. Tapi yang loud dengan yang ada unsur tersirat tu, that one yang that's hurtful.
I don't know whether it's loud or it's the way it's put across. I feel like I kena
probably
marah.
it's the way they put across.
Yeah, I feel like I kena marah, tapi actually not marah gua.
Something like
Kecil
that.
my baba nyonya
So
come
my
out.
family sometimes are like that. Back when I was living with them, it was always like louder and louder. So I always tell my brother, can you talk softer? But then mommy talk so loud. So I louder, then they keep louder. But for me, right, I get the conversation, but it's so loud that it's so tiring to listen to. Especially when I move out. And then when I go meet them once a while, I suddenly like, what's this loudness, like super loudness? So I become a bit softer.
Okay.
And then they were like, Shira's talking so soft.
So do they adjust?
Not until I highlighted it. Like, so for example, if I say, why you must talk so loud? No, like really loud lah. And they get louder because they're trying to get the message across. It's the same message.
Yeah.
There's no sinderan, nothing. It's just one line. Eat lah, why you eat so fast? Eat lah, why you eat so slow? Like, then you so like, can't you just separate? So what I did was with my brother, I said, okay, let's change. Or with my family, I tell them, let's change the way we talk.
Okay.
Don't like, hey, why you eat so fast? I say, hey, eat slower is better for you. Like, that kind of talking. It's the same message, but not the, why you eat so fast?
Using the positive lah. Like,
Correct.
encouraging rather than the other way around.
Correct. Because I find that, let's say my brother always eats quite fast.
Okay.
So when my sister come back from Singapore, which is super fast country, right?
Yeah.
Why you eat so fast? Blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, haven't even scooped the first scoop. Then he lose appetite. He's like,
because
no
haven't
mood
started yet already kena.
Correct. So I said, he could have, number one, you should have give him a chance to mess up before you scold him for messing up. Number one. Number two is like, don't talk like that. I'll talk so like, okay, you should eat slower, because otherwise,
Maybe they're thinking prevention is better than, tell before it happens.
Yeah, but imagine in that situation every day. I think it's a tiring energy to be with.
Oh yeah, I know. I've experienced that quite often as well. So. Okay, but you're talking about that one, like raising the volume. So we had this band workshop lah. Sorry, musician have to come up with this analogy. I think you were there as well. And the guy who was facilitating the workshop made a very interesting remark. He says, usually as humans, we will match up the volume one.
Correct.
So if I talk louder, you'll match up louder.
So I cannot hear you, so I talk louder now lor.
It's like we will somehow kind of like, adjust. But it's more rare that people adjust downwards for some reason. I'm not sure. We haven't proven this. But he says learning how to adjust downwards is an art. So I'm like,
Yes, it is.
interesting.
I think in some panel of forums that I have, then I have very interesting or loud panelists with me. They were like, when they give, I blah, 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 like really like gung and then come to me, okay, so I think suddenly like the mood, energy or whatever. But I find that it helps people to reflect and digest. Yeah. But back to jokes, right?
Yes,
There are
yes.
some jokes that is, until today we still make fun of. Like, for example, ayah, makan
Why
banyak
did it-
sangat nanti cepat gemuk tau. And
Oh,
then,
is
and then
it?
you're talking to a gemuk person. Then you're
Oh,
like, what are you trying to say, you know?
Right, right.
But actually, the person who said probably just meant in general or something.
So the things that we say sometimes kena perhatikan. But okay, it depends, right? Because sometimes you don't want to overly think these things
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it becomes discrimination at the same time, kan?
But I think being
but I hear you.
sensitive lah.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
is another thing that I do. Okay, so for
Okay.
example, if like I've been trying to tell nicely to a person a few times, the advice or something, it doesn't hit home, then I just make a joke out of it. Because I think jokes you need to see when to tell. For example, if there's a hard thing you want to tell the person, but it's very hard to tell, then you tell it in a joke way and hopefully the
Yeah.
person get it.
Yeah.
And hopefully the person get it in the correct way and not in the walao, you just hit me on the face way, you know?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a subtle way of communication that can be used. I find jokes, but
But
really
how
depend
you
on
make
the
it,
context.
yeah, and how you coin the joke also is important lah. So it
Correct.
doesn't become like a sindiran, but it's more like it's funny lah. If it's like just purely funny, then
Purely funny.
without
Very
yeah.
hard. Gina is too serious to be funny. But yeah, I realize I do use jokes sometimes to get my message across. Especially if the person is a very funny comedy person lah. Like always laughing at things on, then I
Right.
will put in a joke or two. But otherwise, you rarely see me crack a joke or try to do that.
Okay, so I don't know whether it's not joking, but a friend once pointed out, that friend was Gina, that when I say something that is a little bit more heavy, I tend to laugh after that.
Okay, please listen to all the previous podcasts and tell me if it's true because it is true.
So I don't know, maybe it's like to lighten the weight of the
of the seriousness.
Of
I
the
said, she just
seriousness.
delivered a serious message and then she ha at the back. Then I don't know whether to take her seriously or not.
Yeah,
But yeah, she does that when she's nervous also.
maybe.
So I think jokes is something that should be, how to say it, looking at the context of who you are with and the situation, decide whether the joke is relevant or not relevant lah.
But don't you think jokes come out like on the spur of the moment? It's not premeditated, you know. So it's
Yeah,
almost
but
like
I mean, the spur of moment is nice if like everybody can laugh about it because it's a general joke that doesn't target personally. Like if you don't talk about body weight and body image, is fine. But if you're talking about like something funny on the signboard and then you make a joke out of it, then it's totally everybody laugh. That's the context, you see.
yeah.
But if like you're talking about something that specify a certain topic, then I think it should be a little bit more considerate about it.
Okay lah. So in short, just need to be a bit more self-aware, be more sensitive to the surroundings, the people who are around you. And if it's like, oh, you're dying to tell this super bad joke, but
Yeah, then you need to see whether the person in front of you can take it or not.
yeah, I suppose.
Because sometimes then after you drop the joke, right, the person don't laugh and say, oh, what you say like that one. So you really need to evaluate that lah. So far as a comedian or an entertainer,
Yeah.
there is a certain, how to say it, level of censorship to yourself. You cannot assume all 99% of your audience is okay with MH370. What
Yeah,
is it, okay?
yeah.
You need to like take from a different point of view, a general
Correct.
point of view, right? Imagine if all of them were Malaysians, then you died it out.
yeah.
So
But also being sensitive. Like, I think telling a joke, there are different kinds of jokes, right? Although I don't tell them very often. There's the totally, what's the word? Innocent ones that just come off on the spur of the moment.
she's very good with that, the random ones.
And then there are those that are, you know, when you, like the Harith Iskandar kind of jokes, right? It's like, it's
It's thought through.
pointing at something, but it's putting it in a less threatening environment for you to
Correct.
take home and
Think about.
think about, you know, because, you know, if it's so serious, then it's too heavy lah, that kind of thing. And then there's another kind of joke which is just demeaning.
Yeah.
That one I really cannot take lah.
So I think comedian, actually, you don't look at them, they stand up and give a joke. I believe that a lot of them have give it through a lot of thoughts.
Oh yes, of course.
You know, it's like coming out with your own script, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And I think that is something that we should respect lah. It's just that the younger comedians or something like that, or young storytellers or whatever, just be a little bit more careful on what we share or how we share things.
Yeah, and I think as listeners, I think we have the power as well because they feed off the response.
Correct.
Right? I think they were saying that comedy is one of the only art forms where your response comes immediately. You
Correct,
either
correct.
falls flat or anything else. If you're a sculpturer, what do you call it? Yeah, a sculpture artist.
More
You
reflection.
have to build the whole thing, and then after that, people see. Then it's too late to change
Correct.
anything already, right? Or producing a song. But comedy is like, boom, out of your mouth. Do or
That's
die. That's it. So as consumers of this, I think a lot of times we are pressured to laugh because everybody's laughing. If you don't laugh, then it's like, I didn't get the joke. Or even it's just like over dinner, over
Okay,
makan,
Gina
lunch.
never laugh. They will just look at her like some alien, but she's fine.
No, but imagine, right? So whether you're in that kind of formal context or you're having lunch and somebody cracks a joke, if it's a funny joke, then by all means laugh. But if it's a demeaning joke and you think it's, I don't know, sexist, racist, whatever,
Then you should stand up for it.
then if you don't laugh and everybody doesn't laugh, then it's going to stop. But if you
true.
feel pressurized because
To join
everybody's
them.
laughing, you laugh, and then everybody, that it just feeds off and it'll just continue.
Correct.
lah. So, yeah,
That
use
is
that
her
power.
public service announcement
Thank
of the
you.
day, PSA.
Yes.
With that, we shall end this episode. In the next episode, we'll chat about, just now, right? So many sharing. We shall talk about how much should we share on social media.
Jom Sembang Malaysia is hosted by two Malaysians who are passionate about Malaysian stuff.
Stay tuned every week for a brand new Sembang session with Juwita Suwito and Gina Yap Layung.
Today's episode is recorded at Studio 2105.
Remember to click like and subscribe for the brand new episode next week.